So, first things first, how are you?
Fine.
Okay.
Doing okay.
What I want to start with is for you, Sasami, and for you. How much of the band, how much were you aware of what Clementine was doing before you were in the band?
Not super aware at all. Yeah, I mean we both live in LA, and I played in a lot of bands in LA, and Cherry Glazer was around, but like I didn't know Clem at all.
Okay.
Yeah. When
Yeah.
I joined.
I had like just moved back from studying classical music pretty intensely, and then became really close with my younger brother, who was friends with Clementine, and like wasn't super familiar with the music, but just like really excited and inspired just to see like my brother and Clementine and that whole like scene of Echo Park musicians just like working really hard. And I don't know, I was just like excited and invigorated by like everything that was happening musically.
What was your impression of the music once you got to know it?
I think the impression was like personal first before musical. It was just like a natural, like when you meet someone, you just can tell whether your energy is aligned or not. And of course our energy has changed a lot in the last year as we've gotten to know each other better, but like, I mean, there are a lot of complex musical relationships in the universe, but for us, I think like our personal energy aligning is a huge part of our musical connection. So that's always been really important.
And Clementine, at this point, when you met these two, where were you in terms of the band and the mindset going forward?
I knew I wanted to incorporate keyboards.
Okay.
We were a three-piece, bass, drums, and guitar, and then I really wanted to add keyboards, and I had seen Sasami play a few times and just knew through the grapevine that she was a pretty incredible multi-instrumentalist. And then, but like, she hustles really hard in music, so I just didn't think she had any time, which you still don't. And then was like, just hit her up, like, and was like, would you ever want to play in Cherry Glazer? And then she was like, yeah. And then we jammed, and then she was so good and brought in Tabor, who was so good, and it just took the music to a whole nother level that was extremely inspiring to me and is really what I needed. And I was craving a much more challenging group of musicians.
And
a group of musicians that challenged me.
did you feel that was lacking before? Did you need it to be challenged?
Yes.
Okay. In what way? Musically? Or?
Musically, yeah. Musically. I was playing with a lot of people who were like, you know, at my level, we were kind of all at the same level of musicianship, and I wanted to be around people who were a lot better than me.
Okay. And
that's kind of my favorite thing to do, is be surrounded by people who inspire me.
But I think Clem's being modest, because I think what you lacked in maybe like technical skill, you make up for in just a really inherent, natural, beautiful way of communicating with music and using music as a tool to be an expressive human. And I think like, especially training classically, like that's a big part of music that is missing in classical training, is this like human connection. There's a serious depth in playing in an orchestra, a sonic depth, but maybe not like the same emotional depth of like connecting with an audience in a way that you have a lot of experience that I didn't have. So I think like she's being a little modest about that. She's an amazing musician, but like our technical prowess and our ability to connect with humans is something that really just have joined to make a greater unit and like a greater force.
Well, you mentioned this musical or creative energy that existed between you from the get-go. So is that because of this, what you now just mentioned, that you're kind of a sum of parts?
Yeah, I mean, to create something new, you can't mix two of the same things. You have to mix different things, and the interplay between different things is what makes magical things happen, you know?
It's true.
So musically, once it was the three of you, once you kind of got together, what was the first session like, or the first kind of creative?
I remember saying, wow, I didn't know practice could be so fun. And it was really awesome for me, because I always felt like excited about music in a way that I didn't have a lot of that similar excitement around me and with the older lineup, and my heart goes out to them. We went through so much with the old band. I love them so much. They were my best friends, and we had so much fun together. But it was just like I needed that excitement, that musical excitement, and I felt like it was lacking. And then when these two joined the band, it was like, holy shit, this is pretty magical and awesome.
For you then,
excited mainly.
what was the ambition? Because obviously then you wanted this energy, this around you. So what was the ambition? What did you get out of music, or do still do?
Oh man, it's just always been a part of my life ever since I was like 5 years old, and I started like writing songs, like little songs when I was a kid. I've just always been writing and singing and thinking about music my whole life. If I can't really answer that question, it's just like this natural inherent thing within me that I need and that feeds me and that I use to work through my emotions, and it's a necessity, music in my life. So I guess the ambition was just like wanting to play good music all the fucking time.
And did this first session, did a song come out of it?
I don't know. I can't remember. No, we were practicing a lot of the old set for way too long.
We had a pretty awesome session in my old house when we were working on Nuclear Bomb.
That was so fucking awesome.
That
was
like
such a poignant moment.
Yeah, that was like kind of a magical moment when we were working on before we recorded the record. It was just Clem and me, and we were like in the living room of my old house, and we were just jamming on guitar and synth, and we like wrote this part for one of the songs that's on the record, and I don't know, that I'll always remember that. That was really special.
That was the best. That felt.
And there was
so
like
good.
Spanish radio like emanating out of the amplifier, because in Echo Park, like in certain places, just like Spanish radio will just start bursting out of the amp, and we still powered through.
Yeah.
What made this session and this day such a turning point for you? Was it in terms of the album? Was that where the album kind of was born? Or?
I don't remember where it was in terms of the record. It was like before the start of Apocalipstick and after Haxel Princess. Just in between the two, it's not like you sit down and write a record. It's like it just is born out of the stuff that you're always making. And then you just kind of like piece it together from what you have. It's not like you have it and then you fill it in. It's kind of the opposite. You have all this stuff and you just pull things and put it into one.
When then in this whole process does an album start to take shape? Is it at the very end then?
Well, there's no end. There's no end to the music that we make. We listen to and make music every day, every week, all the time. Like, so, and the album cycle is kind of weird. You just kind of like, I don't know. What do you think?
Like an album, I feel like a record in a way is kind of like a snapshot where you don't see all the things that happened before or after that photo was taken. It's like you get this one moment that's captured, but it's such a continuous, ongoing thing. Like the music didn't start with the album and it didn't end with the album.
Sure.
It's just it was like a moment for the band when we captured something. But like, for us, it doesn't feel as definitive as maybe it would for a listener, because we see all of the space around the album and in where we are now and all that other kind of stuff. So I feel like you hear it differently as a listener than as the people who made it, you know? Because like it's like being there when the photograph was taken. Like you know what everything else was going on around, you know? All of the little
good.
moments.
I never thought about it like that. That's awesome.
In that sense, then, is your, maybe focus isn't the right word, but is your emphasis more on just the live performances, and like you say, then you have a snapshot of kind of certain songs you had at a certain point as an album?
Yeah, I feel like the emphasis is making things, and I guess you could count the live performance in that, because even a live performance, you're trying to create something special every time you do it, you know, a connection with the audience. So it's like making music and creating things is the emphasis. And recording is super fun, and it's a craft, and it's like a great process for musicians, but it's also just like one aspect of like an ongoing creative practice.